Live, we're live. I didn't know we were live. There we go. So
We're live.
we are live. So, guys, welcome back to another live. I just thought, to have great conversations. Again, as Black creators, it's always good to collaborate. So, I think the audience and both of us can get a lot of value from this conversation. So, first of all, let's introduce you. You want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Hi everybody. Ooh, goodness. Hi everybody. My name's Nelly. I am a content creator in the making. In the making. We had to go through another stage of metamorphosis to get where I need to be. Um, in the creative space again. But yeah, I'm gonna be having more content roll out and everything. I had to go through obviously a transformation to be in the right headspace. But yeah, it's a little bit about me. I'm from Georgia in the U.S., Atlanta, Georgia. But
Atlanta.
yeah,
Cool, cool. Yeah, obviously that's where we had met, and I really wanted to talk about divine femininity. I think Nelly, in the time that we're living in, what is a divine woman? What makes a divine woman, and how can we use our masculine and feminine qualities together to live an amazing life? So, I mean, like, yeah, even just about your childhood, how did you become the person that you are now, and on your journey as well?
okay. So I'll start with like the origin story.
Okay.
So it started with obviously I knew like the world that we existed in, that there was more to life. The typical, oh, I'll pick up a book to learn how I'm supposed to live, to learn how I'm supposed to experience life. And that's going to tell me my direction, my purpose, where I'm meant to go. And there's so many social constructs that we have that kind of tell us what we're supposed to be and what we're not supposed to be. And for me, it was like I knew there was something more. So I was always the kid that was going against the grain, kind of like the always the kid that wouldn't really want to like fit in the mold, because I knew there was something more to me or to everyone. And so
Sorry to cut off your wisdom. When you say something more, like, what do you mean by that? Like, yeah, explain.
so for me, I was always the kid that always grew up appreciating nature, like Mother Nature. I was always outside, always one with the trees, climbing trees, just sitting and laying in the sun and meditating. And my favorite thing was to read. And for me, reading taught me that there's a lot of knowledge in the books. Of course, like any kid, I liked watching TV too, like cartoons, etc. But it didn't stimulate me as much as reading would and connecting to life. So it was like I just felt like there was something more than the wake up, go to school, watch TV as like playtime, and then do homework, repeat. Wake up, get a job, make money to survive,
Mhm.
then repeat. Like to me, it was always like the goal was always just pure happiness. I feel like the goal in life, like what we're all meant to be chasing, is happiness. And there's a lot that we kind of like have
Mhm.
socially constructed that kind of limit us from, I guess, being sensitive to that. So like it's like we're desensitized and out of tune with ourselves. And growing up, I always like seeing how people like would end up kind of just like leading themselves astray from themselves and their passions and the things that they aspire in life just to fit a mold. And so that's what I mean. But like I felt like there was more out there. Like I felt like there was life wasn't as bad as like people would paint it to be. Of course, we go through things as human beings, but it was always something more. And I was the type of kid who liked solving things. My favorite thing to do as well was like puzzles. So life kind of played like a huge game board for me. So it was just like about going through that journey of like self-discovery. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was really really powerful, and I resonate so much with that. I want to go back to when you said, like, how old were you when you started reading?
Hmm. I had to have been like 9
Nine.
for real
What
till I
book?
like got like hmm?
What books? Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, what book?
Ah, the books I was reading. They weren't really like nothing crazy. I was always reading the Arthur books. I
Okay.
don't know. I like the books better than the show. Call me weird, I don't know, but the
Mm.
books always did it for me more
Yeah.
than the show would. I read Arthur. I would read a book called I think it was called Black Lagoon.
Hmm.
It was one of those creepy monster books, but I was just like, I'm not about to, watch a show to paint my imagination of what a monster is supposed to look like. I'ma just like read this book and kind of like see what my imagination creates. Like that was always a big thing for me.
Hmm.
Reading allowed me to create my imagination. And if I can create my imagination, then I felt like I could create anything else, like, and bring it into fruition. So, yeah, like I was just reading random books though, just kind of playing with it. But yeah.
And I find that so intriguing because, like, when you're reading, it's true. Like, those are someone, even if it's okay, those were fictional books or whatever the case may be, but still, when you're reading that, those are someone's thoughts. And then not only that, as you're reading, sometimes you're imagining it, you're seeing it. Like, okay, like whether this book's talking about meditation and visualizing whatever it is, or you know what I mean, like, wow, you're putting that into your mind, and then it's stimulating your imagination than the distractions of TV. And I think, again, for the youth and the younger you are, your imagination is everything, like you're saying.
Literally. Right.
Mm.
Right. And just reading books allowed that space to kind of like be able to play with your imagination and just like see what your mind could create, see what kind of pictures you could create. So it kind of like inspired me to even write like storylines and things like that.
Mhm.
And I felt like as a kid, what you do and the things that you like doing are just hints to what you're meant to do later. It'll just be pieces to the
Mhm.
bigger puzzle, you know? So like everything that I had a passion for, what I'm doing now, I feel like is in alignment with everything that I wanted and loved doing as a kid. So, we're reaching like the final piece of the puzzle. So I'm like really excited, like to even like put out the content that I'm about to put out because it's about to be crazy, like truly. So yeah, I know you see me cheesing ear to ear. Just know that energy. Just know that energy, like. But yeah, like I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that too. But I really again like what you said about the passion, and kind of being different. I remember ever since I was younger, like I was always different. I was again always in my imagination. I love football, so I was always sometimes even like I'll be just thin air. I'm kicking a ball, looking crazy, and my mom, she'd always see me pretending to kick a ball and celebrate like just it's crazy. What's wrong with him? You know what I mean?
Right, right.
I was just in my own world. And then I remember, you go to school, and then I remember I told the kid, like, yeah, I said something. We were like 14, you're in your high school years. But I said,
Mhm,
I'm going to be a professional footballer. And I'll never forget, like, he got so mad at me. Like, he was like, what makes you think you could do that with the confidence? What makes you think
mhm.
0.01% make it? And I'll never forget the way that made me feel. But I still always had that inner child. Like I was always different. I always knew this is what I.
Yeah,
Why do I have to go to school? I wasn't really good at school. It didn't intrigue.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Literally. It
you know,
wasn't stimulating.
it wasn't like, and I liked English, so I did well in English. And I remember I read my first book. It was like The Boy in Striped Pajamas. I was about like 13, 14. I'd read. That was my first book I ever read. But like, yeah, in terms of that, like it just school never intrigued me. And I was like, why do I have to get good exams? And they're like, oh, then you can go to a good university. But I was like, I already know what I want to do. I want to go play football. Then you start learning and you speak to people, and then it's like, get a plan B, and it's just like, no, you're living your life based out of fear. Like you said, people you see now, they're working jobs, they don't want to work there. So it was always again just being different and being, and then embracing that difference, that uniqueness, that inner child that you have. Sometimes I would try to shy away from it, but no matter where I went, they would gravitate towards that energy. They would gravitate towards the spiritual. They would gravitate towards the passion of what you love doing, and you're fearless. You know what I mean? So people,
Right.
so I think that's very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Cause the fact that you felt that at such a young age, like, it's what people try to ignore. Like, growing older, you're like, "Okay, well, you have to fit this mold, otherwise you'll be kinda looked at as the outcast or just not normal," you know? So it's just like to me, though, it was like being called crazy. It's just like, okay, well, that means I'm not fitting into the mold of these social constructs that, were set out. Like believing in yourself. Like sometimes I always say, like, you got to be a little delusional to get where you want to go.
Mm,
Because this society will try and tell you different. Like, it's like a lot of the times just existing through life. Like, I feel like these passions, like, it exists within all of us, but of course we go through life and then, it dwindles. But then it's like sometimes if it's really meant to be and you know wholeheartedly that you're destined for greater,
mm,
then that spark is going to respark itself. Like it's inevitable. Like that's what I call destiny. So I I can relate to everything you were saying,
mm,
truly. That's definitely an important thing to have, like, that conscious energy of knowing that, you're what you wanna do, that's you being in tune with yourself, you knowing yourself. And I feel like growing up, we become strangers to who we really are, and we lose connection to ourselves. And if we're not connected to ourselves, how are we then gonna connect with other people? You know? Like, it has to start at the roots, and that I feel like that applies for so many different things.
mm,
Like, for instance, if someone, lacks empathy for others, it's automatically the biggest sign to me that they lack empathy within themselves, you know? Like, that could be applied for so many different aspects in life, but that's really how I see
mm,
life. That's just what life just being present and experiencing life has taught me,
mm,
these things.
mm. Is it?
Yeah.
It's true. The way you treat yourself is a reflection of the way you treat other people. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I had to check myself sometimes if someone did something, or I'm like, yo, let me show them compassion. Who am I to judge? Like I do those same mistakes, and so that's what I started to learn too. Because if I judge them, I'll be judging myself, and it's like even
Yeah.
when I'm out on the field, it's like someone makes a mistake, and then I'll get mad at them for making a mistake, but like then I'll do that to myself. You know what I mean? So it's just about having that even keel and having empathy and compassion. And I think the more
Right.
so true. And one thing you said was in tune with yourself, which goes back to intuition. Having
Right.
gut, and that also links to what you eat as well. That's why they say trust in your gut, but that's another topic. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In tune with yourself, having that intuition, whether you are in life, your spirit tells you. I was talking to my cousin, and she says, "Look, I want like I was doing makeup, and I wanted get back and doing it again." And I said, the fact that you even had that thought to remind you, to that keeps bugging you, that's your intuition. That's the spirit
Right.
when you're in tune and you're listening. You know what I mean? And I think even for women, like I think women are so powerful because you guys have the womb. So whatever you put into your mind, you can create out there. Like you guys have womb energy, and that's why again, like how as a woman are you treating yourself? How are you talking to yourself? Because when a woman speaks, it is. Sometimes my mom would tell us things. Be careful of this, and that thing would happen because she's listening. She's in tune. You're
Right.
in the spirit, and that woman intuition is, I think, even more powerful. For us men, we have our mind. That's our womb. That's how we get out our thoughts and ideas. But as women, you guys have both. That connecting is so powerful.
Yeah, because I think because we all come from women as well,
Yeah.
Um that's very true what you said about like the womb energy. Like I never thought of it as deep as you just said it just now too. So that definitely did resonate. But I agree, like just being able to practice flow, like that's something though, like feminine energy exists within all of us,
Yeah.
And it's about balancing both the feminine and the masculine. in
Mm-hmm.
order to be, I guess, more aligned with who you are, you know? Because it took both woman and man to create us. So to balance the two, of course, that leads you to be more in tune with who you are. So I definitely agree. Like I
Mm-hmm.
definitely agree.
Yeah, and yeah, that's an important point you just said there, like how, again, harnessing both the feminine and masculine within ourselves. Like, again, the feminine part of me is that manifestation part. That's my, for example, I have the idea, that's the masculine side. Okay, do this. And then the feminine part is the one that that puts that in my mind and creates it into reality. And then you have those masculine energies that puts all the ideas and working hard, and so it's so true. How do you, like, what masculine qualities would you say that you, okay, let's start with both, and also, again, just speaking from the men's point of view, and then compassion, empathy, like emotional intelligence, that's me connecting with my feminine side. If someone talks to me or says something, okay, channel that. Don't emotionally, that's the that's the feminine side of me, you know what I mean? um,
Right.
yeah. And explain, how do you use your, like, what are some masculine qualities in your life you use, and feminine?
So masculine qualities for me would be I always had like the drive to do something,
Mhm.
but I would always like kind of like limit myself from like, it was like I was gaining the drive and then there would be like a slope that I go down. And
Yeah.
then that was where I was like balancing to like or struggling to like balance my
Mm.
masculine energy. And so I noticed that without the drive, how is the flow to come then?
Yeah.
So one can't really exist and be sustainable without the other. So for me, it started with obviously the drive for me, like that spark that was kind of lit. But then after I would, just like pour more into that, and then it's like flow came after. And it's like, okay, I've done it. I've done the work. Now I'm just going to let it flow. And that was me kind of like balancing my feminine energy into it. And so I noticed when I did that, a lot started manifesting for me in my own reality. And then the
Mm.
first time it happened, I remember the first time, I was just like, whoa, hold up. I was
Mm.
like, really? Is this the power of like the mind, the power of the energy, like just being like in touch with it? And then I started to play with it more. And I seen how like life really started like to change. And I was like, oh, so like life isn't really what we think it is. Life is a lot of the time these social constructs of what other people said it was. And
Mm.
so it's kind of like it's the same way like how trends become trends. Like one person starts it and then everyone else like follows in. So of course, like a lot of these social constructs that limit us,
Mm.
we're taught different things like fear, doubt, like a lack of confidence, like different things. And if you look at like the main genre that's like leading a lot of times, that's produced a lot of times, it's often horror movies or fear-based things to keep you in that fear-based energy. And I had to kind of ask myself because I used to really mess with those type of movies. And I had to
Really?
really ask myself. I did. That used to be one of my favorite genres actually. Like
Wow.
I was like, "Oh, I love me some horror movies."
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize how deep it was impacting me and how I was existing and
Mm.
experiencing reality
Wow.
because I loved the genre for what it was, but then I would notice that if I go outside to go meditate and I hear some leaves crunching, I'm turning, I'm looking over my shoulder, like all of this fear energy that's limiting me from tapping into who I am. And I feel
Facts.
like that goes for so many different things. Like we're often fed this fear, we're often fed doubt, like, oh well, only the best make it. Like, and it's just like we learn to believe that people are just lucky and that's just what it is. But life is just so much more
So
deeper.
much more. And
So
just
much more.
so funny, like, and it's so true. Like, now I'm unwinding because ever since I was younger, I promise you, I never liked scary movies. Like, I watched, I think it was Saw, and I had night.
Ooh.
I maybe went to watch one with some friends when I was younger in the movies. Apart from that, like I never used to understand how people could watch horror movies. I promise you, since I was maybe about like, yeah, 12, 11, 13, as I got, I never understood why would I go to a movie to get scared? Like, you know what I mean? It just never, because I'm like that. So it's so true. Again, the way they push fear, and people love that. People love going to horror movies, and for me, I never understood
Right.
it's true. That's how they push fear on you. Even with, again, like when you talk confidently about yourself, it's like people don't like to hear it because it makes them feel bad about themselves. Or
Yeah.
that's why you're told, oh, don't be arrogant, don't be da da da. But like again, as you get older and you mature, it's like no, that's your world, that's you. Don't put
It
your
is.
I'm gonna say positive affirmations to myself. Of course, yes. I mean, I'll do that proudly. I don't believe I'm above anyone, but I definitely believe in. Again, we talk about belief in self. That's the highest form of intelligence. It's not school. It's not books. Belief in self is the highest
Right.
form of intelligence. So if you can cultivate that believe in thyself, which is believing in God, like that is the highest form of intelligence because not many people can do it,
Literally.
have the courage and yeah, we'll take get away from group mentality. Even as men, sometimes it's going out. Like I never understood that too. Like, okay, yeah, maybe you go out to the club, da da da. Yeah, it's cool, but like to no, like that shit is when I even when I'm in the club, I'm like, why are you guys here? Like
Right.
I hate the club. I mean, maybe one-off celebrations where it's a birthday, something. All right, cool. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
yeah, that shit is whack. But that's all group mentality, and it's just the matrix cycle, you know?
Literally. And it's just reflecting, and then it's like the more in tune with yourself you become, the more you see how everything around you is out of tune with who you really are. Like the horror movie thing, like where you were saying like you kind of didn't understand why people would go to the movies just to get scared. It's kind of like as well, like if we kind of just look at like what the news really is. You don't really see or hear good news on the news. It's always just bad news. It's just like this being the collective conscious energy. It's like almost like collectively, are we creating fear based experiences? Like,
Mm,
because the power of the people is real. Like,
mhm,
it's so real. There's power in numbers as well. Like, the collective consciousness, if you're consistently consuming fear-based energy, fear-based media, like we're not referred to as the consumers for no reason. When you consume stuff, it's digested. And then whatever needs to be taken from it is taken from it. And it sits there. So it's just like it's only up to people to like be that flow to like kind of like detox that out of them so their systems because you never realize how subconscious patterns and things that you think but you're not really thinking like from a conscious level but more from a subconscious, like it exists in your vibration, it exists in your energy. Like you ever just wake up, you're like, yo, I don't know why I have so much anxiety. There's something in your subconscious there that's creating it. And I feel like a lot of people, that's why I feel like actually meditating is so important, because just being faced with like the energy head on and being able to see how it's impacting who you are and limiting you, it's easier to kind of maneuver through it.
mm,
So like yeah, like it's there's just so many different things, like the things that's portrayed in media especially, like
mm.
once you become in tune with yourself, you see how out of tune everything else kind of is.
Yeah. And like it's also it's like kind of that knowledge as well. And when someone has knowledge, you're unfit to be a slave. You're unfit because you have the knowledge. Now like, yeah, I know why they show. And then it's like, again, the more deeper I go into it now, being a content creator, it's like I get it. I know why they want you scrolling through Instagram. I know why on
Right, right.
you're doing this, and I'm seeing it, and I'm like, because I'm also creative, so I'm like, I want to create that content. I want to be your scrolling through. But what they want you to do is get you in the consumer mind. They use psychology. That's like what like TikTok, Instagram. It's like in the casino. This, like, it's the same mental thing. So that's dictating your thoughts. That's dictating. You're spending 1 hour scrolling through this thing, but you're not getting in touch with yourself. You're not working with yourself. And that's why, like, on my main Instagram, I had to unfollow everyone. And I didn't do it. Of course, I have my mom, my people, my girlfriend, like people who I love. But I'm just like, nah, I can't be in the algorithm. So now when I go on those apps, it's to create, it's to be a creator, to be on the other side of it. But I only say that to say how you start to, again, you're unfit to be a slave. So, I can't get into that algorithm. I need to dictate my reality. I need to dictate my thoughts. I need to be in my world. People need to be in my world. You know what I mean? And I think that's very, very important what you're saying.
Right. Right.
Mm.
And you know what? What you just said was so powerful because there's so many apps like that where it's just consistent scrolling. Like you see how like Instagram, I don't know if was it TikTok? It might have been Vine actually. That was the first app where like that kind of introduced like scrolling through different content like at a time. And you start to notice that the videos that go viral, they come shorter and shorter. You know what I mean? So it's just like them being like what's pushed out forefront, it's a lot of the time it's just like nonsense stuff. But then you realize that these are the videos that go viral because it's kind of like they want you to be stimulated from shorter videos. And if you're stimulated from shorter videos, you have more of a attention deficit. It becomes an attention deficit that starts to develop. Now, if you're not able to pay attention to one thing for a long period of time, how are you ever going to commit to that drive with pouring back into yourself?
Mm.
You're gonna say, "Oh, I think I'm gonna start doing this. I think I wanna start meditating. I think I wanna journal," but then you have the phone that's consistently giving you these hits of dopamine
Yeah.
every time you scroll. So it's just like, I'll do it, but then you're on your phone. Next thing you know, like you get a phone call and then the phone call ends and then you're scrolling and then 3 hours go by and you're like, "How?" When
Yeah.
those 3 hours could have made so much of a difference if you poured that into yourself.
Of and it's funny, like the videos that go viral, they're never like the educational ones. They're not like someone talking about meditation or talking about manifestation, talking about belief in self, and it's just dances and just entertainment. You know what I mean? So I think it's very, very, it's true what you're saying, and it's important, and it's something that we really need to be wary of. You know what I mean? So, Nelly, this was an amazing conversation. Like, honestly, and that's why I want to talk about what the projects, and for people to look out for what you're doing, and really like where we are now. It's like even starting a revolution. We have to do that with media. Like now we're in the
Right.
and that's the good thing about today's age is like now we can push our agendas. We can push positivity. For example, have a podcast where I'm talking with my mom, a black son, black mom, having a conversation, like talking about, different things, talking about our life and stuff like that. We can push positive images of us into the media. We can push positivity. We now at that step where we can create. So we can also, yeah, help other people. You know what I mean? It's not just what they're feeding us. Now we can create our own worlds where it's like, okay, let's put out positivity. Let's put out things in our imagination, with what you're doing and the creativity that you have in your mind, and being able to put that out there to people. I think that's how we start revolutions, and, make
Right.
media. It's.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I could really appreciate what you do on your platforms because it's kind of showing people that, hey, that stuff does exist.
Hmm.
Because after so much of just like one type of genre being depicted, just like one specific type of because we see what's going on with the industries and what we see with like movies, music, etc. But then just showing like what you do on your platform, like just real connections and conversations with people and just like creating a space for people to see that, that's powerful within itself because a lot of people don't really care to do that. And I feel like that just comes from like people that don't really like care to help like the collective consciousness as well. Like that's just coming from a place of a subconscious need to continuously keep filling your cup
Yeah.
because it until you go on that journey of like learning who you are and discovering yourself, you're not going to really truly want to be in the need or what am I saying? What am I trying to say? Okay, you're not gonna truly want to be like in the energy of like trying to help people
Mm,
because you can't really like feel like you're in a space to help yourself as much. But
yeah.
it's like once you do go on that journey, it kind of just like naturally flows. Like you just want to help other people because you know what you've been through. Like the stories that you've went through, they will tell somebody else's story for them and they'll see where you are then and say, wow, like, I could relate to that. And they're kind of like somewhere that I would like to resonate with along the line. And
Mm,
so it's just like kind of being that guide that, we talked about like for people that, don't really have like a sense of like direction of like how to like tap back into themselves and hold their own true power. But yeah, because I
yeah.
know for sure I could have used it when I was going through what I was going through.
Yeah.
So that's really
That,
amazing that you created this platform for that.
no, thank you. That's really powerful, and I think we can talk for like 5 6 hours. There's so much stuff for us to talk about, and I think it's good we can continue to have at least this conversation and spread this love, positivity, talk about ideas. Well, like you were talking to me, about gatekeeping your dreams and doing this and following that path and tapping within the power within because everyone has a special uniqueness about them. They have a power whether you never had a father or a mother in the house, that's life, those are situations, but you truly were destined to be amazing and one of a kind and unique. So I think it's great for us to, yeah, encourage other people, but also encourage ourselves. So you want to tell, before we end, do you want to tell them a little bit about like what you're doing and, your channel and yeah, a little bit about yourself before we close it?
Okay. So I am actually kind of like a kind of like a jack of all trades.
Hmm.
I'm doing a lot of different things. And it's a lot of different things that a lot of people don't know about me, even people that are close to me.
Mm,
Because that's how bad I was gatekeeping Eve, like but it just came from like just being told, "Oh, well, you're supposed to do this to be normal." So I always felt like the outcast, but you know, I'm creating a space where it's just me just expressing who I've always been and just like creating content and short films to kind of depict that. I've
mm,
always had these ideas and how I wanted to like connect what life has taught me through a visual experience for other people to see. But always I want to like there to be a message that people could always take from it. I want there to be different layers that you could kind of like see and kind of like take down like based on wherever you are in life. I want to create stuff that's always, something for you to take from. So, I I will be releasing a project by the end of this month.
yeah.
Date is set for March 30th. It's already been shot. We're just working on editing it. So that is going to be released, and I'm really excited
Me too.
because huh?
No, I said me too.
Right. Yeah, I've directed this. I've I've written it.
Wow.
I've I've produced it like
Wow.
music wise and all of that like so I'm excited. I'm excited. So just be on the lookout. It's not going to be on that I'm on right now. Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, okay. Oh, am I frozen?
Yeah, you are.
No. Okay, I don't know how to fix it,
Yeah.
but you still hear me. You can still hear me.
Yeah, I can.
But there is going to be a new channel that it's going to be listed at. So I'll definitely be sharing the link. Just I guess keep in touch with this channel, and it'll definitely be announced then. But thank you so much, Eve, for having me on this platform to chat it up with you. Like this was such an empowering, liberating conversation.
Thank you. No, thank
So,
you so much. Thank you so much for collaborating. We'll definitely have another one. Maybe we can, maybe do a series. Who knows? Yeah, keep having these great conversations. So thank you so much, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
all right, later, Eve. Later, everybody.